You don't want to step to me, kid. Haha. It's the White Shadow Norway back again with another vinyl collector video for you. And we're gonna do a list today as well. Another best of list. This time, a top 10 list of my favorite albums of the 2Ks, the 2000s. During this decade, or these last 2 decades soon, hip hop hasn't been as great as it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but there's been a ton of dope releases anyway, just not as good compared. But I managed to put together a top 10, not a top 20 this time. So here we go. Y'all probably already guessed, if you're an underground head, what this is. At number 10, it's Michael Myers. It's been a long time coming on M Boogie Records, produced by Ill Boogie, or was it the other way around? Ill Boogie Records, produced by Ill Boogie Records, produced by M Boogie, of course, my B. Michael Myers, and just a lot of boom bap bangers here. I believe also did a revolution on the cuts, with some incredible cuts as usual. Michael Myers at number 10. Number 9. Once again, my man Jay Sohn presents the Old Maid Billionaires featuring Huggy and Al Sheed, and his debut full album, I believe, called Pimps Don't Pay Taxes. Or, well, he had Music for Tomorrow before this, which was an album as well. So his second album, Pimps Don't Pay Taxes. Typical late 90s, early 2Ks Jay Sohn, man. Hardcore, funky, breakbeat, sample-laced hip-hop. That's hardcore, but a lot of fun. So, just a fun album from Jay Sohn at number 9 on the White Shadow Norway's top 10 2K hip hop albums in the 2000s. Moving on to number 8. I can't show you that one because I got it at another house, but it's the Owners album by Gangstar. That was their last album. Great funky chopped up samples by DJ Premier on that one, and the Guru rocking it on the mic as well. Not quite as greatest Moment of Truth, which was my favorite 90s hip hop album, number 1, but a dope album by Gangstar called The Owners that I can't show you now because it's at another house. So we move it on to number 7. It's bumping knuckles, baby. It's bumping knuckles, baby. Freddie Fox. Now, Freddie Fox, his career has been like he drops an album, then or two, and then, like 10, 15 years later, he might drop another album. This is the best one he ever did, though. Bumpy Knuckles, the industry shakedown, with a lot of great production by the Premier Primo, Pete Rock, The Alchemist, Diamond D, and MOP is featured on this as well. Freddie Fox is back. The album the industry doesn't want you to hear. Yeah. Because this was like, let me see, early 2000s. Should have got real disgustingly commercial and watered down by then when it comes to hip hop. So this came as a fresh breath of air and a hard punch to the groin from Mr. Bumpy Knuckles. Beautiful hardcore album. At number 7. Number 6, I can't show you that either because, yes, it's at another house. And it's a CD only release called I Told You So by Chino XL. Chino XL, probably the greatest wordplay, battle, rhyme type MC of all time. And he's at his best on the I Told You So album. And the production is tight to overall. A lot of tracks and just a great, great album, man, if you're an MC. And you're looking for to hear a lyrical genius and something to get inspired by, Chino XL is your man on I Told You So. That was number 6. Number 5 is another CD only release by my man self-titled. It's a 4 CD collection of chaos called The Catalog. I'm featured on this one briefly too on the track Extra Thug Sauce from my EP Back to the True School, featuring self-titled Magic Most and Guttermouth, and also on the Jay Sohn remix of the same track. But besides those, there's a lot of great songs on this, man, and just from a lot of stuff it's been featured on and everything. So everything self-titled was featured on in the early days. So big shout, man, to self-titled of the Demigods. And just a great compilation CD there called The Catalog Collection of Chaos. That was number 5. On to number 4. This is actually another album that I produced a track from. Of course, the track Narrow Grave that I produced with my man DJ Villa. Villa, what up? And this is AOTP, Army of the Pharaohs, or Jedi Mind Tricks presents Army of the Pharaohs crew, the AOTP crew out of Philly. And their debut album, the classic, The Torture Papers, definitely one of the best album of the 2000s, this one. This is the red transparent vinyl reissue, I believe. Let's see if I can pull it out for y'all here. It's kind of hard when you gotta have one hand on the camera, but yeah, red transparent vinyl, so this is the reissue. I also have the original, but it's up on my wall here, so I'm showing this clean, still in the shrink wrap reissue of the album, which is exactly the same as the original. Executive producer by Vinny Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks, JMT of course, Baby Grand Records, and the classic Torture Papers, one of the recent later years 2000s hip-hop classics at number 4 on the White Shadow Norway top 10 hip-hop albums of the 2000s. Moving up on the charts, number 3 is Little Brother and their debut album The Listening. Fonty, Big Pooh, and Ninth Wonder are Little Brother out of North Cac, NC, North Carolina, come on man, out of North Carolina, NC. It is Little Brother and The Listening. This first dropped on the internet as like a 5-track demo, and it was so dope, man. It had everybody waiting, anticipating for the full album and the singles to drop. That was the first single was Whatever You Say, which is one of the best on this one, but the whole album is incredible. It's like jazzy, laid back type hip hop on this album, man. It blew Ninth Wonder up as a producer and Little Brother as a crew right away. This was on ABB Records out of the West Coast, and I think it was Capitol who picked them up. I'm not sure, but one of the major labels, I think Capitol. But they never put out anything nearly as great as this debut album. They had The Listening. Incredible album, and my number 3 favorite album of the 2000s when it comes to hip-hop. Number 2, Jedi Mind Tricks. Not their debut release, but their debut full album, I believe, on Super Regular Recordings. Jedi Mind Tricks, JMT out of Philly. Hardcore hip-hop at its best, and still their best album in my opinion, though most of their albums are great. Of course, at this time, Jedi Mind Tricks was the MC's Vinny Paz, and Just Law, and the producer Staup, and Violent by Design is the album. I've done a lot of work with AOTP, cats from AOTP, man, like Chief Kamachi was in that crew back then. What up, Kamachi? He's also featured on this, and Virtuoso as well. And, of course, Vinny Paz and Self-Titled and, the AOTP crew. But yeah, this is the greatest JMT Jedi Mind Tricks album in my opinion. Just grimy, gritty, hardcore hip-hop, violent by design. At a time when everything was going commercial, these dudes were keeping it real, man. They were, they were going in the opposite direction, making hip-hop even more hardcore than it had ever been before that. So big props to AOTP and Jedi Mind Tricks, Violent by Design. And, my friends, we're at number 1. And, damn, since Violent by Design is number 2, what could my favorite album of the 2Ks be? My favorite hip-hop album, that is. It's by the Mash Out Posse out of Brownsville, Brooklyn, MOP. And their best album ever, in my opinion, called Warriors. Yeah, what can I say, man? All the tracks on these are bangers. I think on the front line, sampling a horror soundtrack, I think, Carrie, by Pino Donaggio, is my favorite on this one. It's my favorite track, but there's so many bangers on it. So my number 1 hip-hop album from the turn of the millennium, the 2K, the 2Ks, the 2000s, is Warriors by Mashup Posse MOP.